welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful September the 10th, 2020. Round of Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, it has arrived, the NFL. Under much speculation, today is the day for the opening kickoff of the season. I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, our first responders. Your kickoff is every day, and your season is every day. Thank you for what you do.
And may you always win the game. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he will do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Big C, I love doing the pause. The NFL was on pause, but now they're kicking off tonight. Also, I hope they'll participate in reaching out to this Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, the NFL has always participated in helping the veterans, Charlton. We lose over 22 veterans a day to suicide amongst the regular citizens in the United States, Charlton. And during COVID-19, no one's paying attention to the plight of these homeless and destitute veterans that are out there that are struggling emotionally and mentally and financially, Charlton. We do all we can by giving out the 800 prevention number, Charlton, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. We need for this to become an American entity every day, that everybody thinks about our great veterans who are served. I know your friend Donald Trump doesn't think about our veterans. He thinks that they're losers and suckers and all that, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they lost when they voted for him. When they voted for him, that's when they lost, Charlton. He didn't give a damn about them as much as he wants to brag. He lives on the coattail of Barack Obama and what he did for the veterans, Charlton. But don't forget about your veterans out there, Americans. I know we haven't kicked off with the NFL tonight.
Yep.
But think about our veterans every day. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number will save lives.
And every life is important, and all we can do is reach out. 800, you can call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can really get to some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country to put their property listings on TV, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports teams are doing it. The NFL is back. You can watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. Quicken Loans underwrites a lot of our loans. Really looking forward to that. I want to make sure I just get this out there, Big C. I want to make sure that people get out there and vote. We're only about 54 days away from the vote. Tomorrow's the anniversary of 9/11, so it's an emotional time for our country. But make sure you vote, and just text the word VOTE to 26797, and text all your friends. Tell them Big C and the NFL said vote, especially now in the swing states. Make this the biggest vote in the history of the universe. So, Big C, I want to I know football is back, but I'm telling you, California is ablaze. I know we have 3 NFL football teams now. The Raiders just moved down to Las Vegas. But even just doing the show, there's so much smoke in the air over San Francisco. They were showing, like, the city looks like it's orange. And that's in the daytime. Even talking now, I feel like my voice is scratchy. You probably say it's always scratchy, Big C, but I feel even more scratchy. Thoughts and prayers to our firefighters. There's over 100 wildfires, Big C, on the West Coast. And Northern California has the biggest fire in the history of the state, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about those formidable firefighters, Charlton, who go out there and do such a wonderful job. This seems to be an annual thing in California that is burning up. I know the administration they say there's no global warming, but it's awful hot out there and getting hotter and hotter every year. And you think about the American citizens that are living on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California. Donald Trump does not even think about going out there paying a visit to those devastated areas. Yet he wanted to go to Wisconsin because a couple of buildings burned down, but you got states that are ablaze. Yeah. And he thinks nothing about those Western Americans. So when he talks about he's the president for all people, he's turned his back on the West Coast. Yeah, he really has. But I know our firefighters do a lot. And it's one thing to say our thoughts and prayers with the firefighters, but me just doing a show and having so much smoke in the air, I remember there are times I've crossed over nearly every bridge in the Bay Area, from the Richmond Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, Oakland, San Francisco Bay Bridge, San Mateo, Don Barton Bridge. But there are times now, the Carquinez Bridge, when you go over some of the bridges out here in Northern California, Big C, it's as if the mountains have fires. It is so, I won't even say weird, it's so ominous to drive across the bridge, and where you normally look up and see houses, you see ashes, Big C. Your thoughts? Well, Charlton, this is the devastation of fire season that we're living in. And every year in California, because, there's a lack of precipitation in the air out there, and, it's so many people living out there. And a lot of these fires are natural. A lot of them are man-made. But this is something that we go through every year. And, they got to find a way to stem the tide of it. Yeah, they got to find a way to stem the tide. I want to start off talking about some football. I know POTUS was in Michigan, and they're not wearing masks. And at this point in time, it just doesn't make any sense. But if people don't want to, that's their choice. But I want to touch on tonight. It was ironic. I just got a glimpse of the kickoff. I didn't see the kickoff, but the pregame show, I believe, on NBC Sports. And, they had Tony Dungy, Mike Tirico, I believe Chris Sims, and then a couple of other players, I think, that were on the show also. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Because I know, like you and I, we have conversations. It doesn't mean it's the right way. There's more than one way to eat a French fry or potato, Big C. But when sometimes I feel like they leave it up to our black brethren as broadcasters to say, so what do we do next? There has to be a better thing than just putting Black Lives Matter on a shirt and saying that we got to have social change. Big C, what would you say is as far as next, Big C, your thoughts? Well, that comes down to white society, Charlton. What's next? They've been in control of everything forever. I mean, when we think about 13% of the population is African American in the United States, how are you going to change the mindset of the rest of the country? We've been talking about this for 400 years as black people in this country. What's next? And it always seems to go in 50-year cycles as things start to change. And as we look at the unrest that's going on in America, that's been going on for 400 years, this is nothing new. What really spurred this on as far as a national spotlight, Charlton, is COVID-19. COVID-19 stopped all sports in America. It stopped most people from working. So you had one thing that was magnified in America, the unrest from black people that were tired of being abused in this country. And so now people have cell phones. Everybody's walking around with a recording studio in their hand. Yeah. And you don't have to wait on the 6 o'clock news for something to be edited down. Yeah. You're getting actually what happened. You're not getting someone else's interpretation of what's occurred. So what's next? It comes down to the Senate, as I always say, Charlton. Those old white people that sit up in the United States Senate.
Yeah.
Whenever they decide they want to change laws, it's not. I don't care how many athletes you put on television. I don't care how many athletes make statements. I don't care how many slogans we print and put on shirts. It comes down to those white men sitting in the United States Senate that if they decide to change laws, Charlton, they can change them. But they're happy with status quo.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I appreciate something that Roger Goodell said. And man, there's a guy, he used to play for the Patriots. He's now on the show with Tony Dungy and Mike Tirico, and they put Chris Sims. I think his name is Rodney Harrison. I've always liked his play as a safety, Rodney Harrison. And he told that story about he has to have with his black children when they go out on the road, and how to be safe and, compliant, very passive, yes sir, no sir, officer, etc. And then Chris Sims, I think his father was a great quarterback, of course, Phil Sims, and he said he never had to have that conversation with his dad. And what I would love to add to Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy, I respect those men tremendously. There's no criticism, but my goodness, the fires are burning in California, and when people are losing lives and they're losing property, the last thing they say is, so what do we do to put out the fires? And the last thing people say is, well, we got to tell people to pray, and we got to tell people to be nice, and we got to tell people to make sure you put out your campfires. That's not what they say. They say you got to call the fire department and put the fires out, and you also prepare the properties before the fire season to stop it. They do it the best way possible. And what we need to have happen is not these nice conversations about be nice. We need a march on Washington, not like the one that Dr. King had, but we need lawmakers to march on Congress for police immunity. That's a start among many other social justice reforms. But it's about the law. Don't write on my T-shirt anymore, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I've always said that once you get rid of police immunity, that right there is the number one staple to change society in America. Black people will be treated differently on the street. But black people shouldn't have to be worried about the police every time they're walking out of the house, walking down the street, driving in their car. When you see a police officer, you see a blue light, there's not a black person in America that doesn't flinch every time they see that. White people just callously go on.
Yeah.
But every time black people hear a siren or see a blue light, they get intense. They get nervous, Charlton.
Yeah, I get nervous too. And so this is where I want to ask Mike Tirico, Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, and they put in Chris Sims. When you really want to talk about what we need, you need the same thing that you would ask for if your loved one, your children, were burning inside of a burning house. You wouldn't say, well, let's be nice to everybody. The house was burning, your kids inside. Well, let's talk to our friends about telling them to put out the campfires. The house is burning, your kids are inside. You wouldn't say, well, let's all write, our kids matter on a T-shirt or paint it on the film. You would call the fire department to put out the fire. You wouldn't ask people to be nice. You would ask them to put out the fire. And the way you put out the fire of racial inequality is understanding it's a civil rights matter. It's not about being nice. You don't have to be nice to people to have your rights infringed upon. You got to make it about the law. And I know some of our black brethren, they are so passive when it's saying we need to talk to Congress. I don't need to talk to Jerry Jones. You're not a lawmaker. And when will we get that conversation happening on mainstream? Your thoughts?
Well, regardless of who we look at in sports, whether it's a broadcaster or whether it's a player, they're never going to be the decision makers in Washington, D.C. Those are the people we need to go after. The owners are the ones that have to go after, not the players. Stop asking the players for lip service. It's like asking a third grader to teach eighth grade math in school. It's not going to happen, and that's what you're asking when you're asking broadcasters who work for a broadcast company who have a contract that says certain things they cannot say and cannot touch on. So I don't put any emphasis on these guys on television because they're trying to keep their job. Think about how many more people in America that are more influential than them, that get paid more money than them, that don't say anything about the systemic inequality in America.
Yeah.
They don't say anything at all. you got a president, you got an attorney general, so there's no systemic inequality or racism in America.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are put into office by the voters. The voters are the biggest voice in America.
Yeah.
And until the voters decide to change where we are in America, and it's not like Trump's base really likes him. They really don't.
No.
They actually don't like the Democratic side. Because when you look at the Democratic side versus Trump's base, there are more college-educated people. They feel that all these people have looked down on them, that they're the swamp in Washington. They're the fake news. And so this is their opportunity to get even with them. Not that they care for Trump, is that they dislike the other side even more.
Yeah, but I have a different thought, too. And everybody has a different way to cook potato, Big C. Just had some nice potatoes the other day. When Roger Goodell was asked a question about what do the people who watch football think when they tune in and they don't want to see Black Lives Matter, they don't want to hear about social justice, they don't want to hear it, they just want to watch football. I say kick their butts out of the stadium if they want to boo and act a butt, just like players, fans are tossed out of a stadium or out of an arena when they become belligerent. They don't just let them stay because they paid for a ticket. I can do what I want to do and say what I want to say. No, you can't. They have ushers. They will get your butt out of there. And I would hope that Roger Goodell, because this is about life, and he said something that I appreciate. If people have a problem with that, we're talking about human beings. We're not talking about robots. And I would just hope that just like when the house is burning, they're not passive. They call the fire department to put out the fire. And I think if we get our brethren talking about the lawmakers, that's more important than saying let's write somebody's name on our T-shirt or on our helmet. It's all a start, but that's too ancillary. And if it doesn't touch Congress, it's just lip service. That's my opinion. I do appreciate Roger Goodell. If people if they have a problem with watching football because people say stop killing us, then take away their damn right to buy a ticket and kick them out of the stadium. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, you don't take away their rights because you want their money. If they're disgruntled at the beginning of the game while that's going on, well, the thing that happened today, there's one team in the NFL that has a black general manager and a black head coach. That's the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins touted today that they're not coming out for the national anthem. I don't know how that's going to resonate across the rest of the league and what the other players will do. They say they're not going to stand, they're not going to kneel, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to stay in the locker room. Not only are they going to stay in the locker room, Charlton, but they're going to put in the black hymn, lift every voice and sing. So that's going to play along with the American national anthem. The Negro hymn, lift every voice and sing, is going to play in the stadium also. And so the players having respect for both sides, not being political, they're going to stay in the locker room while both of these are being played. So I guess your buddy Donald Trump won't be watching the Miami Dolphins games because they're going to be playing a black song before the kickoff. I'm wondering how will the network handle that, Charlton? Will the network play the anthem on television? If they don't, will all the teams from that point on stop playing it on television, which is going to be a very interesting move. But I commend the Miami Dolphins team and players. They put out a video today indicating what this was all about.
Yeah.
Black players, white players, they were all in this video
together
speaking about social injustice in America and what's wrong with America. And them not taking sides, but they know that there's things wrong, so that they will stay in the locker room, let both anthems play, and then they will come out on the field and do what they're hired to do, play football.
Yeah, and I'm fine with playing a song, but my goodness, if we don't get into Congress and have legislators work on changing things, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Just like putting out the fires in California, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's a start. And saying be nice, let's talk about it, that's great. But we got to talk about it with our lawmakers. Our lawmakers, that's what happens in my opinion. I want to touch a little bit on the NFL and then a few other things I want to talk about. I know the Lakers are playing the Houston Rockets tonight. They also have some tennis happening over in New York on the East Coast. NHL hockey is doing their thing in the Final Four up in Canada. And then somebody was playing football for the Atlanta Braves last night. They got 29 runs across the board. But I want to just quickly touch on the NFL power rankings, Big C. Again, power rankings, this is weird to me because we have not had a preseason. I know teams have been practicing, Big C, and they've been going through their double days, but no preseason. And I want to just run down just a couple of teams. It's easy to say Kansas City Chiefs, but if I ask you with the Kansas City Chiefs being Big C's choice as maybe the favorite so far to make it to Super Bowl 55, they return with most likely the key piece for their high-octane offense this year, and that's Patrick Mahomes, of course, but they have a first-round running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who just came off of a national championship down at LSU. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Mr. Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. He may not have been the MVP last season, but there's nobody who plays better than him when he's healthy. And you see what he can do to anybody's defense in the NFL. Last time they played the Houston Texans, which is their opponent tonight, he threw 5 touchdown passes against them.
Yeah.
And still, you know, if the clock hadn't ran out, he'd probably threw a couple more.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no way to defend him. He has all his weapons back on offense. I mean, when you look at that track team he has out on the outside, along with his tight end Kelsey, the defense is mostly intact that led, you know, the AFC during the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So this is the team to beat in the NFL.
Well, there's a team that's been knocked off twice, even though they've been favored to at least get into the championship game the last couple of years. That's the Baltimore Ravens. You know, the easy favorite to be the league's most unstoppable rushing offense again this year. They have a great coordinator in Greg Roman, has a great scheme. Lamar Jackson obviously is a great run option. And then you have, I mean, I'd like J.K. Dobbins coming out of Ohio State, gives them a lot more help in the backfield, Big C. Give me your feeling on what they can do, but they got to be more of a passing threat, more so than just, hey, they're going to run again, let's put 8 men in the box. Big C, your thoughts?
So you can have all the great runners you want on that team, but you can only one of them can carry the ball at a time.
Yeah.
So that's the problem they possess. They really haven't developed a really solid passing game, and if they get behind, that's when they really struggle. So this is a team that's built to play from the front, not from behind. I mean, they have a tremendous defense. I mean, Lamar Jackson, you know, looks like a video game player.
Yeah, he does.
But will that last? How many games can he play without taking one of those devastating hits?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Can you get 3 years in a row at the top of the heap? New Orleans Saints, I know Drew Brees has some social things that he had to work on, and that's fine. I like when people don't agree. That's how we figure out, let's look at both sides of things, and he capitulated, and I appreciate that. But the New Orleans Saints, this is the team that everybody's high on, especially since Drew Brees has been down there. They've only been to 1 Super Bowl. In all of his numbers, setting the NFL on fire, throwing the ball, that dome is a really tough place to win in, Big C, unless you're the home team for the Saints. You know, they've been knocked out in the playoffs at home. They need to get a playoff game on the road. But give me your feeling on Drew Brees. This offense is very tough to stop. Defensively, they can outscore on offense, so the defense doesn't have to be the best. But now they have a pretty tough NFC South. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, their defense has been improved with some free agency move and kept some players on the team and didn't move from the free agency also. But when you look at that division they're in, they're the cream of the crop. They're going to win the division that they're in the NFC. I mean, nobody has been able to slow down this offense in the last 4 years down in New Orleans. Well, the officials have in the NFL. Maybe, some of those officials opted out this year due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
But, I see them as the odds-on favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts. It's so smoky in San Francisco. You know it's bad when you run right up against the Pacific Ocean, and you have the smoke that's so bad in San Francisco, it's going to flow over into the valley, and just there's a lot of ash out throughout Northern California. So that Gold Rush defense, it might be the ash defense this year, Big C. The 49ers' dominant defensive line, it carried them to Super Bowl last year, Super Bowl 54. The offense gave a league low 4.8 yards per pass attempt. That's pretty solid, especially in the NFC West where people pass a lot. I'm going to throw out some names. Give me your thoughts. Nick Bosa, Derek Armstead, D. Ford, and then Solomon Thompson, DJ Jones. And they have a first-rounder in Javon Kinlaw, Big C. Jimmy G is not the reason this team wins. They win by running, but they also win with their defense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but when you're a one-dimensional team, just like in Baltimore, we saw how both of those teams, once they got behind, lacked the ability to come and stay in the pace with the ball game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look at Jimmy G just like I look at Lamar Jackson. He's a quarterback that play well when they're ahead. The defense, to be consistent defensively year in and year out in the NFL, you have to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that the NFL with the 49ers is looking to do is stay healthy. But, this is a one-dimensional team that they lead by running.
Yep.
And when they don't get ahead early in the game, they struggle also.
Yeah, they struggle also. I got to get your feeling again. There's fire. There's a lot of fire in California, a lot of smoke and fire, and so that's just part of what they deal with in the Bay Area. But they have a nemesis up north, and they've been the nemesis for many, many moons now. I remember when the Seattle Seahawks came into the league, they were in the AFC playing with the Raiders, and then they moved over to the NFC. Now they're playing with the 49ers. Of course, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, they're consistent. No more Jadeveon Clowney on defense. That defense is going to be, we'll see what they're going to look like this year. But I want to look at their offense because you may have to outscore teams in the NFC West, especially with what Arizona has and even the 49ers getting the ball back a lot with their defense. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Josh Gordon, Greg Olsen, he's not going to beat anybody deep, but he knows how to run routes, and he's a good possession receiver. That's going to help their offense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, but Seattle's not going to change what they do. They're ground and pound. That's the Pete Carroll mentality. Even when he was at USC, it was run the ball first.
Yeah.
And if you're behind, you can always lean on Russell Wilson. He's been Mr. Magic in the 8 years that he's been in Seattle. But, they have to change the mindset of the coaching staff first. Is that play in the first quarter like you play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. They've won. I think they only lost one game on the road last year in the regular season for the Seattle Seahawks. So they got to worry about winning at home. They've been pretty solid on the road. I want to go over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Coach Mike Tomlin, and you have Big Ben Roethlisberger. They're saying he's healthy now. He's not healthy like LeBron James healthy, but he's healthy enough for Big Ben to help this team at least challenge Baltimore. I don't think they can beat Baltimore, but give me your thoughts on the Steelers. They've always played good defense. Last season they had Mason Rudolph. They have Hodges playing. This unit has a better chance if Big Ben can stay healthy. But can you expect a guy who's kind of, he was dropping off really the last couple of years anyway with interceptions. I think through 2 playoff games he had like 8 interceptions. Is he going to help this team challenge the Baltimore Ravens? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the last time we saw Roethlisberger play a full season, Antonio Brown was his wide receiver.
Yeah.
He doesn't have Antonio Brown any longer, Charlton, so he's not going to be the quarterback that you saw 2 years ago. Pittsburgh Steelers right now look more like a 500 ball club.
Yeah, I've always wondered. I know Tomlin's always knocking on the door, but this year I just don't know if Big Ben is your best hope. Big C, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know there's so many people, and I know you're one of them, that you really love their offense, and you love the fact they have Mike Evans, they have Chris Goodwin, they have defensively, the Buccaneers have assembled a talented, formidable group. Maybe in the days of Warren Sapp, they have Dominican Sue. They have so many people, Shaquille Barrett. They have a lot of names. But I got to go back to Tom Brady. Because with Jameis Winston, people might laugh at his 30-plus interceptions last year, but he could get out of the pocket. Tom Brady can't get out of the pocket. Gronkowski's going to be old in the tooth. He might be a good short possession receiver. So what makes you so sure that this is going to be a team that can challenge the Saints and the 49ers for a top spot in the NFC? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, normally when you throw 30 interceptions in a season, your team ends up 1-15, 2-14.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers ended up 7-9 throwing 30 interceptions.
Yeah.
So if you cut those 30 interceptions in half and get 15 or less on the regular season, that has to account for at least 2 to 3 more victories.
Yeah.
So that puts you in the 10 victory category as an organization. You think about their team the last 5 weeks of the season, they were the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
They haven't had a drop-off in offensive talent, yet they've maintained all their defensive talent.
Yeah.
I see them being 1 game behind the Saints when the season ends.
Wow, that's big words for a quarterback that they're going to put a lot of pressure on him down in the heat and humidity. We'll see what happens. But I want to take you to another team that hasn't won a Super Bowl since the Pittsburgh Steelers gave the game away down in the desert. against the Dallas Cowboys. But we know they're loaded. Dak Prescott, obviously, he's going to be someone you can rely on. Mike McCarthy, he just has to get out of the way. Defensively, Dallas, they got to show me first. But when I look at offensively, Dak Prescott at the helm, Ezekiel Elliott, if he's healthy, and then you have Amari Cooper, you have Michael Gallup, you have rookie CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, downfield threats galore for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a team that many people are overlooking, but they could also challenge for the top 2 or 3 spots in the NFC East. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was the team offensively that was second in the NFL in passing yards last year. The Achilles heel for the Cowboys has been their defense. They have all the offensive firepower that you would need. I mean, there's nobody in the NFL with more offensive firepower than what they have.
Yeah.
Can that defense make the big plays? They lost their top cornerback. They lost their top linebacker. You know, how will this defense step up for the Cowboys? They don't lack offensively.
They don't lack offensively. A quarterback that's been kind of under the fire for some reason, contract-wise. They have a new head coach at the helm. I think the Cowboys are going to be fine. I want to take you up to Lambeau Field before the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. In fact, we'll take the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause, right now. When we come back, I want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers, and does he have one more stance, Big C? Give me one more dance looking for a Super Bowl party. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. So many applications. I want to take you up to I would just say Lambeau Field. It really is. It's kind of out in the no man lands compared to places like the Los Angeles Rams playing in downtown Los Angeles, out in Inglewood. But you got Aaron Rodgers. The Packers were 13-3 last year. But when I watched them play against the 49ers in a defense that could get after people, I felt like Aaron Rodgers looked like he lost a step. Now, it's weird to say that about a guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame. But they're playing in a division where they're always the team that people look at from start to finish. Matt LaFleur, obviously, in his second year. Aaron Rodgers should benefit from a better understanding of the scheme. Devontae Adams is as good a downfield threat as I've seen in the NFL. Give me your feelings. Is Rodgers looking over his shoulder or still? Big C, your thoughts?
He's not looking over his shoulder. I mean, when you look at his numbers, they've gone down the last 3 years. This is the reason why Green Bay drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's about a total team effort when you're looking at players being productive. To get to the NFC Championship game, Charlton, last year, there's no slouch. They just did not play well defensively. Their offense got them there. Their defense let them down. Yeah. They've
always had the Aaron Rodgers factor. But when I saw him against San Francisco, he seemed like he just, maybe 2 years past his prime. I want to go to the East, the AFC East. I think the team that's going to win the AFC East, it's not a big stretch, but the New England Patriots. Gone is Tom Brady. But they've traded in Tom Brady for a better, more athletic quarterback in Cam Newton that gives you a run-pass option. They're one of the toughest teams to compete against when you have Bill Belichick, Jedi Knight Belichick. But give me your thoughts on what you can expect out of the New England Patriots. They always take the no-name guys, and Belichick finds a way to get them become the AFC East champion, and always making a decent run into the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the Patriots and what they possess and the style of game that they play, this is a helter-skelter defense that they play. They put a lot of confusion on an offense. And when you think about where they were last year, 8 of their games, Charlton, where they scored 10 points, that's all they needed was to win.
Yeah.
So if this defense does anything like it did last year, we know that Cam Newton will bring an extra dimension to the offense, but it's all predicated on what the defense does.
Yeah, it really is, and I know their defense will be solid with Belichick. I want to take you to Houston. I know they're playing today, or tonight actually, against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's 26,000 fans. I look like a Raider crowd from last year, Big C. I'm just kidding with the Raiders. Now they're in Las Vegas. Houston Texans, your friend Bill O'Brien, he got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, said he didn't need one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's at the Arizona Cardinals now, and that's bizarre for a lot of people. So Deshaun Watson, he gets his money, but he's going to have to do his thing without arguably one of the top 2 receivers in the NFL. He's going to need a lot of help, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, and also David Johnson. But I feel you can't be a better team by getting rid of one of the best receivers in the league. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the problem with Houston last year was not their offense. It was their defense. They had the worst defense in their division. And so there's a lot more pressure on Watson this year than what it was last year. You think about the number of points that Kansas City scored against them in the playoff game, John.
Yeah.
It wasn't that, Houston didn't score. They put up 31 points. It's just their defense could not stop anybody.
Yeah.
So you got the 2 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL facing off tonight in Kansas City. But Deshaun Watson is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL.
He might be, but I don't know if they're going to have a better year this year than they had last year. I know J.J. Watt is solid on defense, but he's usually injury prone, and it's we got to make a $90 million contract. You can't really count on him from start to finish. I want to take you out to the desert, Arizona Cardinals, and I really like what Kingsbury has to work with. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Kyler Murray. Remember last year when people were saying he was not big enough, he can't throw the ball far enough downfield, he's not accurate. He might be a run option, but he's not going to be a guy that can look over the offensive lineman. Would you believe he was an NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, and he was hated by almost every media outlet that said this guy would not make it. And now, as the universe would land in his hands, DeAndre Hopkins in a blockbuster trade from the offseason, I'm telling you, they have a tough schedule, but every defense is going to be running out of gas trying to contain Hopkins downfield or containing Murray coming out of the backfield and throwing downfield. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, but the key to this team is, can that offensive line protect it? Did they do enough during the offseason to improve their defense? Kyler Murray is one of the up-and-coming stars in the NFL, but I still don't think that they're any better than 4th in that division because they have to begin with the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers.
Yeah, they got a lot of people to contend with, Big C. We have this fire trucks driving around all over, Northern California trying to put out fires. And again, if my voice sounds a little bit scratchy, Big C, I apologize. I feel like I've been a smoker, and I don't smoke, but I can't stand it. I don't understand how people smoke with the raspiness that I even feel in my voice right now. But I'm going to do the best I can to drink my water and get through it. And speaking of smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. The Cleveland Browns, you think about only Jameis Winston had more clean pocket interceptions than Baker Mayfield last year. 15 for Baker Mayfield and 16 for Winston. But here's a guy, just like Kyler Murray, they came out of Oklahoma. And one thing that I saw at Oklahoma is they got their quarterbacks out of the pocket. They didn't make him a pocket passer. And they tried to make Mayfield a pocket passer last year, and he's had more pocket interceptions than anyone outside of Jameis Winston. Can this team make it to that next level against the Steelers and also the Ravens? We know they'll probably beat Cincinnati, but can they go further with Baker Mayfield, who cannot throw the ball in the pocket? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if they become a run-first offense, that's where their muscle lies. They have 2 great offensive tackles to protect Baker Mayfield in the backfield, but you got to run the offense through Nick Chubb. You look at the investments that they've made on defense. Their defense is much improved, but it still comes down to their run game. Nick Chubb's the best running back in their division.
Yeah, but they don't know that because there's so much pressure and making Baker Mayfield the star player for that team. But if they realize he's second in the NFL throwing in-pocket interceptions, defensive ends are going to crash down on him, Big C, and keep him from running. And I don't see them having a better season this year than even 7 wins if they can get 7 wins. I want to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. It was really hard to say Raiders out of Las Vegas, but they gave Mark Davis some money, and unlike a lot of other players that people say, you should stay, Giannis, don't leave for greener pastures, they went down to the desert. They have receivers, Henry Ruggs III, Brian Edwards, both of the Raiders. They have a great passing group. I really like their quarterback in Derek Carr. John Gruden and GM Mike Mayock, they've won 11 games and lost 21. And one of them making $10 million a year if they can't get past 6 games or maybe 7 this year, which one would be gone? The GM Mayock or the coach in Gruden, basically, your thoughts?
Well, Gruden is not going anywhere, Charleston. When you think about this team, it's about retooling the Raiders, giving them a whole new look and a fresh new start. They don't have enough players to be competitive in their division. They're destined for 3rd or 4th in the division.
Yeah, I don't know. The Raiders have a beautiful stadium. Allegiant Stadium is a really gorgeous stadium. I know they can't pack the house, so this might be one of the stadiums where they don't really miss the crowd noise, and we'll see what happens with that. And want to make sure we clear up your microphone. I know it's kind of smoky out here too. I want to take you down to Atlanta. They have Matt Ryan and defensive coordinator Derek Carter. I think Mike Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, they look good offensively. They bring in Todd Gurley, who had a hitch in his giddy up. That's why the Rams let him go along with not wanting to pay him more money. Can they be better when you think about how they were so close to winning the Super Bowl? Will that still have the hangover this year? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's ancient history when you look at that. This was a team that gave up a sack on their first offensive play last season.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is not improved in any kind of way. Their defense is suspect. The Atlanta Falcons are destined for 3rd in their division.
Yeah, I don't know. They have a lot of money, $155 million, and you're going to come in 3rd place. They made challenge for 4th place more than 3rd place, but we'll see what happens. I want to bring you out to the new stadium, SoFi Stadium, in Los Angeles, California, Inglewood, Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, they seem like they had a little bit of curse going on. They had to move from beautiful San Diego to play in a 27,000-seat soccer stadium down in Carson. And now they get to go into this brand new, beautiful stadium. But I'm telling you, there's something about this team. They have made Joey Bosa a star for some reason, at least contract-wise. They have Melvin Ingram will make sure that they're going to play pretty good. Tyrod Taylor, offensively, I think he gives them a lot of hope. But they're always going to be in the backdrop of the L.A. Rams. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Ingram and Bosa on defense, you look at Tyrod Taylor, he's not going to throw the 21 interceptions that Phillip Rivers did last year.
Yeah.
Their offense is well-rounded. He brings the mobility to the offense. Charlton is going to be a lot of problems for opposing defenses. And so I like the Chargers' chances this year of finishing 2nd in their division.
Speaking of finishing 2nd in anybody's division, I want to take you up to Michigan, to the Detroit Lions. The Lions' offense is better than people can remember, probably. They're going to get a healthy quarterback, Matt Stafford, who's never won anything. So I don't know if that is a good thing to get him back. They haven't been anywhere with him. And they were 0-8 without him in 2019. This is a different year. Detroit, it doesn't seem to matter. I know Matt Patricia is someone that people don't like to deal with, and considering him to be the wrong guy for the job anyway. But does it matter the Lions have a healthy Matt Stafford or not a Matt Stafford at all? They need to move on from him. Your thoughts?
Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford. I mean, they're fighting the Chicago Bears for last place in the division.
They're for the last place in the division, but they wouldn't seem to know it because they keep sticking with him. I want to go over to New York. I want to look at the New York Giants, and a lot of people are, Manning's no longer there to deal with him. Daniel Jones is their man, and he had his ups and downs as a rookie, Big C. I know that Duke is a little bit different than playing in the NFL, but when you think about it, with all the Saquon Barkley in the backfield, they have Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton on the field together. Can he get the ball to them? Do they believe in him being their long-term solution, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he played much better as a rookie than a lot of people thought that he would. If he can have a healthy receiving core this year, which he did not have as a rookie, if that defense can step up for the Giants, who knows? The sky's are the limits for the Giants.
Yeah, it is a limit for what they should call the Giants from New Jersey, even though they call them New York Giants. I want to take you down south where a lot of people go when they want a vacation, the Miami Dolphins. I know you talked about them doing 2 national anthems this year. But you think about this. Brian Flores, as a head coach, I like what they were doing in the draft, but they're the team that gave New England fits last year and is under his maiden voyage. I think they'll be a lot better this year. They have Tua Tagovailoa. He's waiting in the wings. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick being the starter. And I don't want to even try to rush to it out there. I want to go with Swaggy P, Big C. This is the team in the Dolphins that no one's really expecting a lot from. But they had 5 wins last year with a rookie coach. They only can go up, in my opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this team won 4 of its last 5 games, Charlton. They did much improvement on defense. You can call them the Patriots South.
Yeah.
So this is a team that's going to cause some waves in the division. They're going to challenge the Buffalo Bills for that second place in the division. Ryan Fitzpatrick, one game he'll throw you 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The next game he'll throw you 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
So the team will go as far as he takes them.
Yeah, they'll go as far as they take them. And I'm not going to cover every NFL team. I know it's just a lot of stuff going on with the fires here in California, and I know the season is kicking off tonight in Kansas City. And maybe they're looking at, is this the team that's going to repeat? And I want to just touch on one more team that had a big change. There's been so much change this year. The Washington football teams, adding pass rusher Chase Young to an already talented defensive line. Washington has a real chance to set the tone in the trenches this year. Young is an easy pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year if he can pick up the NFL speed. It's not always the same coming from college to the NFL. And then when you look at this team going through so much turmoil, what do you expect out of Washington? Their owner has gotten all kind of legal issues going on. The team's changed their names. He's been sued for, a sexual allegation, loss, all kind of garbage. What can Washington do, or is this kind of a make up the mess, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Daniel Snyder doesn't play the last I checked. When you look at their defense, they got 5 number 1 draft picks on their defensive line. You look at the quarterback situation and offensive backfield, it's going to be all new this year. So this is a season of development in the nation capital.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of things going on in Washington, D.C. that a lot of people are just kind of up in the air about. I wish that organization nothing but the best. Over on the East Coast, New York City, and the U.S. Open semifinals underway. Number 3, Serena Williams playing Victoria Azarenka. Number 4, Naomi Osaka playing number 28, Jennifer Brady in the highlight, the main events there. I'm a little bit, I won't say, I love the 3-point basket, but I'm a more get the ball inside the paint kind of guy. WNBA playoffs, the women 3-point shooters are not that far in between. 35 feet away is not that far. Sometimes when you need a winning shot, we're thinking about, can Steph Curry shoot a 3? Guys like James Harden, can they shoot a 3? But when you get the women and they have a chance, the Mercury blew a 22-point lead. They rallied for a win over the Suns in overtime. Skylar Diggins-Smith scored a season-high 33 points. She had a game-tying 35-foot shot at the end of regulation. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's the game of basketball, and that's the magic of the 3-point shot, is that when you're out of it, you're not out of it. If you can knock one down, from downtown, you can win a game or you can tie a game up.
Yeah.
But the women play an exciting brand of basketball that we just don't always have the privilege to see.
Yeah, we don't always have the chance to see that. I wanna ask you about what's going on now in the NBA bubble. I'm telling you, I thought that the Clippers would take out the Nuggets in about 5 games. And I looked at the Lakers maybe going 6 games with Houston. But in the bubble, you have the LA Clippers. They were doing their thing last night. They're up 3-1 over the Denver Nuggets in the NBA bubble. And it looks like they may cruise into the Western Conference Finals. Kawhi Leonard came out of his funk, and he got back to the 30-point realm. They look very good. Denver seemed like they were a little bit out of their element. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at these games in the bubble, Charlton, I mean, it's you're either enthusiastic or you're not enthusiastic. To me, I straddle the fence because I don't have that fanfare that I like to see. Everyone has picked the Clippers and the Lakers to meet in the Western Finals, and it seems like it's going to turn out that way.
It seemed like it's going to turn out that way. Now, it's easy to say I said it, but last night on our show, I didn't know what was happening because it's before the end of the game. I said we're most likely going to see a Game 7 with the Boston Celtics and the defending world champion Toronto Raptors, and we're going to get a Game 7. Kyle Lowry was doing his thing last night. Here's a player that many people thought that he wasn't big enough, that he's getting too old to make a good shot. But this is the team. They pressed Boston, and I still think Boston might win the series. But when they had that shot, Anunoby hit that 3-point shot with 0.1 seconds left, and it helped them from being knocked down to 3 games to none. And now we're back at 3 games apiece. So that means they've run the table on Boston. They've beaten them 3 in a row, Big C. And, I mean, give me your feeling going into this final game of a Game 7. It's so important. Toronto's been there before. They were last year's where they're defending NBA champions. And Boston has a lot of potential. If they don't get this done, then it may set them back to making some changes. Big C, your thoughts?
I don't think it would set Boston back, but you're playing against the current NBA champ.
Yeah.
These teams, they don't have any quit in their system. They believe in themselves. And when you look at them getting into overtime, winning this up, tying it up 3-3,
yeah,
that's the heart of a lion that they have in Toronto.
Yeah, the heart of a lion, or maybe the heart of a raptor, Big C. I'm sure a raptor would beat a lion pretty much anytime they get the chance. You're feeling on the Lakers. The Lakers right now, there's something about the way they played Rajon Rondo, that kind of that quarterback on the floor, doing his thing, getting inside of James Harden, and he's really made the Lakers defense play better. You can always count on LeBron James. You can count on Anthony Davis. But now, it used to be Kuzma, maybe the third guy. That third guy to me is Rondo. And with Rondo at the helm, I think Houston's going to play desperate, but they always seem to play desperate. The bad thing about Houston is they don't shoot for rebounds. It's like a three-pointer bust. The Lakers can go inside, and they can foolishly try to keep up on the three-point realm. If Houston has any chance of pulling this closer, and I don't think they can, do you think they have the will to even go inside, or are they willing to just go 3 points or out, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, they're going to shoot the threes and hope to knock them down. They're going to be a player short. They had a player break quarantine, so one of their bench players is not going to be available.
Wow.
This series is all but over.
What in the world would it? Well, sometime when you eat, you maybe what I think he was doing, and I take fault in the player because I was telling people for the kickoff and also for the playoffs, if you're hungry, all of our sports fans, get ready to kick off the season with the Big C Burger. It tastes ooh-yeah good. And when we told them, you can go, you don't want to eat that foo-foo burger where you know what kind of meat it is. You get exotic meats on the Big C Burger. You think it's our fault that he left the bubble, Big C, to get the Big C Burger? Your thoughts?
Well, he didn't leave the bubble. He had a guest come in. He had the lady that was getting the quarantine test, invited her to his room. I guess, he wanted a little Q-tip magic after dark, and now he can't play.
Well, maybe she brought the Big C Burger to him. It's a good burger, though. I hope it's worth your team losing the season over. It doesn't make any sense. You can follow Big C Sports. We want to be the sexy, the new sexy, the clever, engaging, bold show. We want to be thrilling. We want to be funny. We want to be thoughtful, provoking, but I really want people to Google what we say because I can just tell you it's a sad dog that won't wag his own tail, but there's no sports show that has done what we do, and we're honest. We're not saying, well, say nice things to people and we can have, racial equality. Just smile and grin in someone's face and we'll have racial equality. No, you got to get it in front of the decision makers, the lawmakers. It should be about the law. Get rid of police immunity. If white women start getting shot 7 times by officers in the back in front of their kids and people get upset that people want to talk about that before a sporting event, they would never let that happen. And I love what we're doing with Big C Sports. Before we get out on the smoky Northern California air, really apologize for the sound of my voice tonight. Down in the South, Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves, they blast 29 runs. I think if you look at the offense for the Braves in their big win, 29 runs, Big C, they may intimidate the Atlanta Falcons when it comes to putting more points on the scoreboard, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's going to be the pressure on the Falcons come Sunday. And they eclipse what the Braves did, 29 points. That means they got to score at least 4 touchdowns and a field goal.
Yeah, they got to do that. I think that's the most 29 runs. I think they broke loose for 11 runs in the second inning, and that matched the modern scoring since, I think it hasn't happened since 1900, set by the Texas Rangers in a 33 route in 2007 in Baltimore that happened there. But for that franchise to put that many runs, they had 23 hits, including 7 home runs. And Big C, the ball is not juiced. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got all that humidity, so it helps it carry out.
Yeah, it carried out real far. But when you put 29 runs on, that's important. In London, England, we love going across the pond, having some tea, Big C. Moonshine tea, that is. London, England, the English Premier League, they deny that Newcastle's assertion that a Saudi group is going to try to get involved with the good old boys from England. Are they really trying to do what Trump does and keep the Saudis out, Big C, when it comes to this pristine, proper game of soccer in England, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you're trying to launder money, what better way than to buy a sports team?
Yeah. Oh, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund acquires an 80% stake in Northeast English club. They got to understand sometimes they want to keep that money out when the skin color's not the same. Donald Trump understands that. I want to lead off or close out with just saying America last week, I know we're ready for football. Fires are burning all over the West Coast. Last week alone, under the POTUS administration, 800,000 Americans filed for unemployment, Big C. Over 800,000 under Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. And POTUS in Michigan today, hardly any masks being worn. Trump lied and said that the reporters should have told what was going on with the COVID-19. Well, Trump's the one who's briefed on it, not Don Woodward, Big C. Nearly 200,000 Americans have lost their lives because Donald Trump admitted that he lied to the American people because he said he wanted to downplay it. When I go to my doctor, please don't downplay anything. Tell me what I need so I can be healthy. When you think about this, Big C, and I'll throw it to you, the Trump administration, with COVID-19, since the month of February, the United States has lost more people than 9/11 attacks, more than Vietnam, more than the Korean War, more than the Gulf War, more than the war in Iraq, and more than the Afghanistan war combined. Over 1,000 Americans per day have passed away due to COVID-19, and Donald Trump said he didn't want to tell people the truth because he did not want to upset anybody. Didn't we just say if there's a fire burning, you don't care about upsetting people. You tell the truth and call the fire department. Why does he lie so much and people still go to his rallies without a mask? Basically, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'll take that back to when you had the immigrants trying to cross the southern border.
Yeah.
And he talked about how much it was an attack on America and that everybody needed to be concerned because they were rapists and drug dealers and murderers. And he wanted America scared. And he knew that was a damn lie.
Yeah.
But with COVID-19, he knew that how dangerous it was to all American citizens. And he said he didn't want people to panic.
Yeah.
I mean, another damn lie. I mean, he lies when it's beneficial for him. He lies when it's beneficial for him. Period.
Yeah. It's a shame, but if people are that dumb, then that's their choice. NHL hockey up in Canada, we need some of that ice to come down here to Canada, from Canada to California. Oh, I wish it would rain. I really do. Canadian in the bubble, going to games, the 4 games, the Final Four for Canada. Really apologize for the smoke in the air. Sometimes I go to talk and like smoke comes out of my mouth, and I don't even smoke. Major League Baseball, California is burning. It's burning up, Big C. They're trying to play games with ash and smoke in the air. God, we really need some rain. I know we always talk about prayer, and sometimes maybe that's just a fallacy for a lot of people, but I am praying for rain in California. I can only ask people, please, try to be safe. If they say evacuate, you got to evacuate. If you're not alive, it doesn't matter how much property you have. Final story, Big C. I know maybe the NFL is kicked off tonight, but NASCAR Bubba Wallace deciding to leave the Richard Petty Motorsports at the end of the year. He has a lot of love and respect for Richard Petty and what he loves with NASCAR, even though he's come under a lot of hate from America. Those wonderful Christian Southern Americans that want to fly the Confederate flag and the swastikas that Donald Trump loves so much. And I think, in my own opinion, I don't know Bubba Wallace, but I feel he's getting so many death threats that he wants to just pause and step aside because this great country that we live in has so many people that would rather have you get death threats than have your First Amendment rights. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at these race teams and drivers changing, Charlton, it's always about economic opportunity. It's a business decision. And, as they say, there's no hard feelings. It's just about the next move in the career.
Yeah, it really is. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope that everybody in California, man, let's pray for rain. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, hoping that all athletes can stay safe tonight in the game. Want to make sure that all our frontline healthcare workers stay safe. Nurses, doctors, first responders. You keep everybody safe, you stay healthy.
Everybody stay healthy, and please do whatever you can to check on the elderly, because sometime when the fires come, they can't get out, and you got to make sure you're checking them too. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. We really appreciate the way things are going. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.